While 2016 wasn't as disappointing as 2015, I think the quality of the games themselves was actually worse. 2015, I went in excited, like, oh, there's gonna be some great games. So I was kind of left traumatized and shocked by the end of that year. But this year, my expectations were already in the toilet. So when these games did then bubble out of the toilet, I was just like, whatever. I'm gonna put both of these in the one list because who has time for two lists? The nominees for shittiest game of 2016 are Mafia 3, No Man's Sky, Abzu, Homefront The Revolution, Star Fox Zero, Far Cry Primal, The Division, Layers of Fear, and The Last Guardian. And the winner is a tie between Last Guardian and Layers of Fear. I could not, for the life of me, decide which game pissed me off more. One of them is a cheap, shitty, poorly optimized, generic horror cash grab game, and the other was a high-budget, shitty, poorly optimized, storyless, gameplayless, impossible to control, camera issues piece of garbage that just took 10 years to make. I just want to say congratulations to Team Ico and whoever the made Layers of Fear. No game company made me want to kill myself as much as you guys did. No other games this year made me want to saw my own testicles off with a fucking branch as much as yours did. Congratulations. That is truly a crowning achievement in gaming. I also want to give an honorable mention to Ubisoft's Watch Dogs 2. Congratulations, you almost didn't suck. Now let's think positively. In an order top 8 list from 8 to 1, here are the least shitty games of 2016. Number 8 was probably the biggest surprise of the year, is Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Yeah, we know the multiplayer is complete and utter garbage, but the campaign, it's actually really, really well done and definitely worth at least one playthrough. The space combat was a serious step in the right direction and actually a breath of fresh air from the shitty near future stuff that Call of Duty has been doing. The multiplayer is the same as it's always been, but the campaign, they clearly actually tried in the campaign. Number 7 is Doom. The actual shit level in Doom is super, super low. Doom doesn't really have a lot of problems. Doom is just a very simple, one-time playthrough, very quick, very smooth controlling fun shooter. It's a game that actually recognized, hey, you should probably run in 60 FPS if you're a first-person shooter. It's very raw and simple fun, you know, just go shred through demons. There isn't a lot of replayability. There isn't a lot of variety. It definitely does not have the longevity. The multiplayer sucks. But the game is such a refreshing jump back to old-school traditional shooters, and that was really appreciated. The controls were so smooth, too. Buttery smooth. Number 6 is a game I didn't actually talk about at all this year, is Overwatch. I had a review filmed for Overwatch, and then as I was editing it, I'm like, this sucks, I'm not putting this up. Trust me, it just wouldn't have made for a very good video. I'm basically going to convey the same information here, so. Overwatch was a very fun, extremely polished shooter. Very good competitive gameplay. You know, it's taken over the esports thing. And initially, I didn't plan on covering it at all, and I only picked it up because it blew up like I did not see that coming. The art style is a little cartoony for my taste, but the heroes all actually feel distinct, even in same classes. All the healers heal in different ways. They have different health bars, they have different attacks, they have different movement speeds. There's definitely a lot of learning at a really high skill ceiling in Overwatch. But it's also super simple to pick up and jump into. The first match I played, I got the most kills. The biggest caveat with Overwatch for me back when I played it, which is now out of date because that was in like September, was that there were only 2 modes and only a handful of maps that didn't stand out, and I kept replaying the same maps, and it did get very repetitive. And it had the depth in gameplay, it just didn't have the content. And only releasing the Origins Edition on console so you can't get the cheaper priced version was bullshit. This'll never happen, but if the game was ever on PSN Gold Games for the month, I would pick it up in a second. Battlefield 1. We are losing objective butter. That girl's voice is so hot. Battlefield 1, solely on the multiplayer alone, would have scored a lot higher had it not had so many frame rate issues and reload glitches. To be fair, it's probably the best looking video game I've ever seen, so there is at least an excuse for it to be dropping frames, because the graphics are so good. And the era of World War I really made for a different feeling multiplayer game, even though if in gameplay, it is basically the same as the modern military shooters. I was hoping for a more accurate, simplistic World War I, you know, with just rifles and tactics rather than this running around with machine guns and Iron Man suits and flamethrowers and snipers killing people from across the map. It does unfortunately suffer some of the same issues that most other shooters suffer. The campaign was overrated to hell and back, but at its core, it is a good shooter. Number 4 is technically cheating because it came out on Xbox last year and we didn't get Rise of the Tomb Raider on PS4 until 2016, but that is one of the games I had the most amount of fun with. The pacing of the game was so good. It balanced gameplay and exploration and puzzles so well. That's something I think it does so much better than Uncharted 4. By the end, Uncharted 4 had me bored to tears. Uncharted 4 was a great movie. Tomb Raider is a great game. They're kind of almost opposites because the story in Uncharted was great and the gameplay sucked. And the gameplay in Tomb Raider was great and the story sucked. So, in a game that focuses on exploration and crafting and roaming around the world, it is super important that the game looks good. And Tomb Raider has great graphics. I hear it's one of the few games on PS4 Pro that'll actually let you choose, you know, native 4K or high frame rate. The game's not without issues and it's got a rocky start, but customizing Laura's outfits added a ton of it. I loved exploring Geothermal Valley and the Copper Mill and the Antarctic Wasteland, and I had more fun with Tomb Raider than I did most other games this year. Last year. Forgot it's March. Number 3 is Titanfall 2. This is another thing that proves that graphics aren't everything, because it does have the graphical look of a Call of Duty that came out a couple years ago, but the essentials are there. It is 1080p 60 FPS, it does control very smoothly, and while the story itself in Titanfall 2 kind of sucked, it was the game mechanics and design of the levels in the story that were so good. The multiplayer too, just one mode, just the Last Titan Standing mode alone was so replayable. The multiplayer maps were gorgeous, the Titan designs were unique and varied, and the abilities that the Titans had were very well chosen, and they added a lot to the gameplay depth. It's just a shame it released so close to Call of Duty and Battlefield. Isn't that nuts? The 3 biggest shooters of the year that everyone was like kind of directly competing against each other, I think were all good games on their own merits. Number 2 is Forza Horizon 3. This game looks insanely good. The sound is incredible. As you're changing gears, it's all and you'll hear like a pop and you'll have like a flare out of your exhaust. It looks so good. The feel of the game, the vibration feedback when you're driving and how it controls and how you have to brake and slow down around turns, like there's a lot of gameplay depth and tons of player input in just going from point A to point B. The cars look fantastic, the world is fantastic. There were a few nice touches as the third entry, but like I said, I would have liked a little more than that. My biggest complaint was that it was too similar to Forza 1, and I would really like to see some snow, and they answered that. There was a Forza Horizon Hilltop or whatever expansion pack. I wasn't playing the game anymore at that time, but now anybody who picks it up, snow. The game looks great, the game feels great, and the game sounds great. And if I still had that Xbox One in my house, I would still be playing it. Number 1, the least shitty game of 2016. I mean, this game does have a lot of shit in it, though, so this is technically kind of a breaking cheating the rule and wasn't initially the point of the video. But if I am awarding a Game of the Year, I guess I have to, again, begrudgingly give it to From Software with Dark Souls 3. Just because their core combat is so good, and you see other games constantly trying to copy it. The block, attack, parry, roll, stamina management, dodge, Estus healing system is bar none unchallenged the best RPG action combat system today. You know I have a ton of beef with Dark Souls 3. I think the lack of new ideas was kind of disgusting. I think a lot of the visual areas looked kind of disgusting. There were some pretty ones though. Irithyll Valley and Archdragon Peak were very nice. But it was constantly blowing its load to Dark Souls 1. And it's like, guys, if you had just waited a couple years, taken some more time and had your own vision and not felt so chained down by the rest of the series, you could have made a great game. Dark Souls 3 was the most disappointing game of the year and also somehow managed to still be the best game of the year. Because those bosses and those boss music and the armor makes for some truly great encounters. And that's it. That's 2016. There's actually 2 more game videos I want to do in regards to 2016. One of them being about Rainbow Six Siege again, because we got to talk about that again. Oh man, what a year. If you want to know more about any of these games, I have a full review for every single game I mentioned except for Overwatch. Overwatch is the only exception, so just check the 2016 games playlist on my channel. That's where you'll find them. Alright, so I'm done with Nier Automata, so that's going to be the next formal game review that's going up. I filmed it, so it's just sitting on my computer, needs to be edited. Right now, I'm playing through the Dark Souls 3 Ringed City DLC. I'm switching off between that and Mass Effect Andromeda, so Those will both get their own videos. I know what you're thinking. Wesley, you never talked about the Ariandel DLC. I mean, I kind of did, but I kind of just shit all over. I played through that first too, so I might do a separate video on that, but I don't have much to say, so I'd probably just include it with the Ringed City, do kind of like a bundle review type deal thing. Let me know if you have any interest in a Dark Souls 3 Ring DLC Let's Play playthrough type deal thing. I'd be willing to do that, but not if no one cares. A Destiny 2 gameplay reveal should be going up sometime today, so I want to talk about that, and then after all of that and everything, I'm going back to Zelda Breath of the Wild, so that's what's on the agenda. Make sure you follow me on Facebook, because that's where all this information channel update stuff usually goes. It's a lot easier to just type up some text, throw up a picture to make it look pretty, than it is to set up a camera and microphone like I'm doing now. So if you want information about the channel, that's where you'll find it. What was your favorite game of 2016? Let me know in the comments below. Unless it was, you know, The Last Guardian or No Man's Sky, then you should probably just shut up. The bosses. You know I had a ton of beef with Dark Souls. You know I have a ton of beef with Dark Souls 3. I think the lack of new ideas was kind of disgusting.